Martin in Ocala. Joint cooperative effort of great minds. It's the Yellow Cup today.
No, it's the Yellow Banana Cup today.
Yellow Banana Cup.
Look at the little. Let's look at.
Oh, I love that.
See the little
That's an original. I like that.
Green's dirty.
A Banana Cup and Bim Bam Burgers and Breakfast if you're hungry in Oxford, Mississippi. Hey, lot to cover today. Take a picture with your cellular phone.
Can we just stop for a second? And I want to say thank you to the 100,000 people that tuned in, whether you saw us or clicked on us or whatever. But our show from yesterday did 100,000 unique views on that show. And I just want to say thank you to all those people out here who watched the show. We appreciate it.
And I want to say thanks more than you know for doing that. Wow. We are blessed.
And how can they help, Rob? It's easy. It's simple.
Take a picture with your QR code, with your phone of the QR code.
That's right.
YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And look, Brenden,
if you're on Twitter, it's at Sidelines, Sidelines_Live. You can check it out and find us right there.
Got a new handle. Yeah.
Yeah. It's right there if you want to find us, and we can go on YouTube if that's your thing. We've got it all, and we've got a totally full guest. What do we call it? The blue room, the orange room, the green room.
It's the gridiron room, man, and we're ready to go.
Lounge. How about the Voodoo Lounge?
Hey, we got Coach Matt Dean in Memphis over at Rhodes. We got Ken Capps in a parking lot somewhere in Austin, Texas. John Hartwell. I'm guessing John Hartwell's in Monroe or Fairhope/Baldwin County in Lower Alabama somewhere. But look, got a lot to cover today. Man, college football started last weekend over in Dublin, but it starts tonight for the SEC in Columbia, Missouri. And by the way, John, here we go. By the way, yesterday I had a neat conversation. We're going to start improving our Missouri coverage. Talked with Caleb McAndrew. He's from St. Andrews, Scotland. He's the beat writer for the Columbia Tribune for 5 years. Man, I'm going to get him and George Somerville together, and we're going to have a haggis show. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. But look, I'll just get started with, tonight, man, it's here, the excitement. Golly, John, you are right now in between what you're going to do. I got a good feeling whatever you do is going to work. I know that. Midas Hartwell. So let's talk about what's going on, college football, all that other distraction is out the window, and it's time to play the games, and that's the kryptonite to NIL in the portal. Play the ball. What is Florida Gator motto? Spot the damn ball, John.
Yeah, it's an exciting time of year. Other than a handful of teams who played last week in week 0, everybody's undefeated. Optimism runs high. Rob, I'd be remiss, each week there's at least one or two times a week you make an off-the-wall comment. And with that visor you're wearing today, we can just say, what the huck?
Yeah, what the huck? It's been on. It won't come off. It's like a week long now.
The light is so bright I don't know how to do the lighting, but I can't see.
So he puts on a visor. I love it.
But John, the only thing better than wearing a huck visor would be down on the Gulf Coast eating some raw oysters from Murder Bay Oyster Company, a cold hams or something like that. I love this time of year. Ken, are you in a 7-Eleven parking lot in Austin? Where are you? I love
Man, let me tell you where I am today, and it's so important. I'm sitting outside of my alma mater, A.N. McCallum High School, because tonight, you think about all these big college games. We have a big high school game here in Austin. It's the A.N. McCallum Knights versus the Anderson Trojans, which is our most bitter rival in the history of high school football. I've already been to the 6 a.m. live shot for both of the cheer teams that were out at the stadium for TV news this morning, and I'm about to walk into the school here at 9 o'clock and go to their pep rally. So I came into town for the Shoal Creek Showdown, and there's a little game called Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio State that we're going to be talking about a little bit too.
As well, and Matt, here it is all over the country. It ain't just a couple of teams playing. It's the whole deal. 135 Division I teams. Is this season, the excitement right now, do you feel any different than you have in the past, despite all the distractions that we won't mention?
First of all, guys, I want to let you know I'm reporting from my dining room again by the China cabinet. John Hartwell hasn't mentioned in a while. I'm not at a 7-Eleven. I mean, you can see my wedding picture in the distance over one of my shoulders.
There we go.
Let me just tell you something. I heard this last week, and I kind of believe it. This may be the first time in a long time people are talking about the whole menu on the. We always have had a couple games, but Ken just mentioned Texas, Ohio State, which to me is the marquee. But I mean, you got so many great games. I'm even really curious tonight to watch Nebraska, Cincinnati. Has Matt Rule started to figure it out a little bit at Nebraska? Dylan Raiola is a really good quarterback, young quarterback, but will Nebraska win a game they need to win? Because everybody's looking for, as a native Iowan, all we hear from Nebraskans is how it's going to be their year. And we'll see about that. But honestly, I think getting back to Texas again, I'm just really intrigued because I think a lot of people are trying to dissect this game. Ohio State has two of the finest players in the country, Caleb Downs on the defensive side, and obviously we know about Jeremiah Smith on the offensive side. But I still think Texas's defense is going to travel well. And regardless of how Arch plays on Saturday, I think Texas defense wins a close game in the shoe. Well,
John Hartwell, let me say, the top 10 high school football teams in America, 1 through 6 are all Catholic high schools. I'm a little biased, but I think Jeremiah Smith went to St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale, and I know Caleb Downs is from Metro Atlanta. John, on all levels, college football is important. Talk about the importance of having, bottom line, a lot of leadership. What's happening to make the game stronger? And can we do anything to make it less like the NFL? Because Sundays, NFL's fun, but you doze in and out of naps if you're in the house, unless you're doing hard labor like all you have to be doing at the farm. I don't get the layer. I never do. But it to me, what are you hearing out there about, hey, we're going to start having some structure and some accountability?
Yeah, obviously the game and college sports in general are continuing to evolve every day. I do one of the interesting storylines, and I think this is kind of going under the radar screen because a lot of people, I think it was intended to be confidential, and I don't think it was confidential. The group of 6 now commissioners had a meeting this week in Dallas to kind of say, hey, what does the future look like going forward? Will there be a separate playoff? Which really, living in that world as the athletic director for the last 13 years, I don't think it benefits that group because, again, everything is driven by the broadcast rights and the television value, and I hate to say this term, but it really is a second-tier championship playoff is just not going to draw the value that splitting away would do. And the beauty, just like March Madness in basketball, I think here over the next couple of weeks, when you see quite a few FBS schools playing FCS schools, somewhere along the line, there's going to be an upset. An FCS school is going to beat an FBS school, and you say, well, hey, how is that happening with NIL and such a gap between the haves and the have-nots in terms of what they're funding NIL? At the end of the day, and what makes college football so great, kids want to play. And so you may have a kid who started out at a Power 4 school or an FBS school who is really a very talented kid, was just not in the right situation, and has an axe to grind, man. They're going to be running through a brick wall. And so I think that is what part of the beauty that people, regardless of what's happening on the periphery, why college sports is so special.
I totally agree. Ken, let's get your thoughts. We're going to bounce around, do the rapid fire technique, picking these games. Texas goes to Ohio State. You've got a feel for that program. It's Arch's first road game. He started a couple of games, but he's starting on the road against the national champions. What do you think happens?
Well, and let me give you a great stat. I had a lot of time to think yesterday driving from Dallas, AKA the Metroplex, down here to Austin. And, I was just thinking about where the pressure is. And, I was also thinking about Matt and all of his great kudos for Texas. But, really, the pressure is all on Texas in this game. They come in the number one team in the country. They're playing the team that they lost to, that went on to win the national championship. The Buckeyes are going to have that nice, shiny championship trophy sitting right there on the field, to stick in Texas's face, to show them and the other 102,000 fans that they're the champs. And for Texas, to be the champ, what's the old line? You got to beat the champ.
Yeah.
And so, I was just thinking about it. If Ohio State wins the toss, Texas gets the ball, and again, it's a whole different ball game now with Arch. But last year with Quinn, and, Quinn didn't have such a bad record either, Texas started off notoriously slow. There was always a false start. There was always a holding penalty. And, the first drive always got kind of knotted up somehow.
Yeah.
And, up there with Arch, making his first start. He hasn't started in hostile territory since Isidore Newman in 2022. Okay. I looked that up. So let's just remember that in New Orleans, Louisiana, USA. So that's what concerns me about this game. On the other hand, you got Ohio State, got their redshirt quarterback who's never taken a snap of this magnitude before, ever. I mean, at least Arch has taken some snaps in big games. And so, again, what I always think it's going to boil down to is, like I always say, it's going to boil down to defense, like Matt said, turnovers, that kind of thing on defense, and also the kicking game. We chased off, Texas chased off Bert Auburn, most accurate kicker of all time for Texas, because you're accurate until your last two kicks, and then you're not accurate and you're gone. Yeah. And Mason Shipley, who's a great kicker from right down the road here in San Marcos, Texas. But San Marcos, Texas, and Columbus, Ohio are two different places. And so he may be the greatest kicker in the world, but to try to make a 45-yard field goal up there with 102,000 people screaming at you, that's going to be tough. So Texas enters the game as the underdog. I think Texas too is gonna win this in a close game. But look at what Paul Feinbaum says. He thinks Texas is going to blow them out. I don't know about that.
All right, Dan. Matt, we talking Texas now. Let's get your thoughts on Alabama going down to Florida State. Not sure if Jaden Roberts, the big guy out of Houston, North Shore High School, I think, another Texan, is going to play. They got another offensive lineman that may not play. Florida State, really, really last year, they weren't a dumpster fire. They were evaporated. Are they going to pose a challenge to Alabama? It's a 14-point line in favor of the Tide.
So I personally think that Alabama's line of scrimmage is too much for Florida State. Let me just start it with that. But I also want to say this. Gus Malzahn is leading the offense for a head coach who's known for offense, right? So when you think about Mike Norvell, probably forced to hire, John, you know more about this than I do in terms of AD world, probably forced to hire someone after a 2-10 season. I think Florida State first half emotion has got to be more competitive. But I look at Ty Simpson, he's waited his turn. By all accounts, the locker room really likes this guy, and that's important in every sport. I just think Alabama will be able to run the football, eat up clock, and you got the best player in the field is Ryan Williams. I mean, that dude is electric. I just think Alabama rolls. I really do, guys. And the bigger question to me is, can Florida State bounce back this year, and what happens if they don't? Right? I mean, John, in the world of money and NIL, I know they paid Mike a lot of money. At what point does that proud tradition for football say, hey, we got to be better? And I have a really close, one of their staff members was in my son's wedding this summer. I am pulling for Florida State. I want you to know that, guys, but I just don't see it this weekend. If this game was not in Tallahassee, we wouldn't even be talking about it because we would think it'd be just like roll tide roll. I'm just telling you.
Matt
I know
Dean,
Brenden comes in. Go ahead,
Matt
Brenden.
Dean. Can we have a conversation about all this before we make a big statement about Florida State? Because I'm very I thought we were friends.
Wow.
Well, I thought we were close.
So you're a fan of Florida State, Brenden? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now? Or what?
Yeah, I love.
He's
I
gonna
love
start
Tyler
doing the
Trash.
chop here in a minute.
I love the chop. I love how the Braves copy the chop. I love all that original stuff in Tallahassee.
I sense a little sarcasm, Brenden.
No, I love it. It's great.
No, listen, I
what I like is when you wear a backpack. When you you do a really good play, you get a cute backpack, and you get to run around the field on it. That's nice. I mean, who doesn't want a backpack?
I want a backpack,
right? Yeah. A small one that's very feminine that fits on your shoulder.
Matt, I'll throw something at you. One thing about Florida State, you're right. When you come off a 2-10 season, the way they lost so many games, the first adversity that they faced, do they go, okay, here we go again? That's what I'd be worried about as a coach. You got Mike Norvell ceding power, it looks like, to Gus Malzahn. It's not – I think Alabama wins 42-14.
Yeah, handily. I agree.
But I mean, it'll be – I just look at this. I think Alabama is so tired of being told that, they're not the school anymore. There's a lot of great storylines. John, you're down – you're in Monroe, but that LA area, the Florida State people, I think, wish they were in the SEC. Their fans do. The administration didn't make that choice.
They had a shot.
Yeah, they did. And everybody wanted them in, but now they're in the ACC. John, what do you think happens? And we got to get on these other games, so we'll speed up.
Yeah, let me go back to Texas, Ohio State for just a second. I'm going to agree with Ken and Matt. Here are the two reasons why Texas wins that game this weekend. Dave Portnoy, he's pulling for the horns this week.
There you go.
He's already in their head, John.
And you guys have heard me talk about this for 2 or 3 weeks. The Neil Browne factor. Neil Browne being there to help Arch Manning, I think, is going to be a huge factor, not just this Saturday, but all year for the Longhorns. Alabama, Florida State. Here's what I would say. I think the Tide win going away, but this is one of several games that's a marquee matchup. But all of a sudden, even though we're in week 1, the losing coach edges their way towards the hot seat, and I think that's still I think that's the case in Tallahassee this weekend when the Tide go in there and win handily.
Well, the hot seat being generational wealth. If they fire you, I mean, unless you're charged with some heinous crime.
The hot green seat, not the hot red seat.
That's
the hot
right.
green seat.
It's the hot green seat. All right, now next one. Auburn goes to Baylor. Ken, tell us about Baylor, Waco, 45,000 seat stadium on the Brazos River. It's gorgeous. I think RG3 got the call on the Fox broadcast on the TV game Friday night. Man, that's high school. That's but then the NFL, to hell with college. They get out of our way. But what does Auburn beat Baylor? How good is Baylor?
Well, that's an interesting question because for so long, Dave Aranda was on the hot seat, and last year Baylor came back, was a decent team, and Dave Aranda kept his job. And now, it's going to be interesting to see where Baylor lands in the Big 12. I mean, I was looking at the Big 12, and I still keep up with the Big 12. I grew up in the Big 12, and I grew up in the Southwest Conference, for Pete's sake. So I followed Baylor.
Trading cups.
Exactly. And, so I followed Baylor since I've been 10 years old. And, they're liable to sneak up on you. But I think Auburn, it's going to be very interesting for Jackson Arnold to start that game and to, really try to redeem himself. I mean, gosh, coming as the 5-star quarterback out of Texas and then going up to Oklahoma and being just maligned and mistreated as he was, it just blew my mind, really. And I guess we're going to see how it's all going to turn out this year. With Brent Venables and company, and his new quarterback John Mateer. But can Jackson Arnold take that team to Waco? And of course, in Texas here we call it Waco, okay, because it's exactly 100 miles between Dallas and Austin. Yeah. So it's a pit stop basically. But it is a beautiful stadium. It does sit right there on the Brazos River. And so with that one, though, I think that Auburn's going to win this game. But again, Baylor's at home. A lot of crazy things happen with the Bears down there. And like I say, Dave Aranda, I got to give him a lot of credit because, man, people have said he's on his way out for 2 or 3 years. And all he does is, at the very last second, turn it around and keeps his job. So, I think Auburn wins that game.
Well, I got one question from Lane Bob from Bessemer, Alabama here. First time listener, long time viewer. He's backwards. But anyway, I love this text. Do you think Auburn, AWBARN, Auburn?
Who's texting you?
Lane Bob from Bessemer, Alabama.
We don't put our number out, right, Rob?
Yes. Well, he knows me. Okay. I'll tell you who it is.
Everybody knows you, man. Everybody knows you.
Can you tell them to text the show? So
yeah,
join our
Lane. I'm going to call him out. Lane Duggar in Auburn, Alabama. Love this guy. I'm going to tell you, he looks like Wally Cleaver. He's a great guy, rock star, dash rip rock. But Auburn, AWB, there's no spelling on that. All right, Matt, Auburn, Baylor. I think that's a very tough matchup. Dave Aranda knows SEC style of play. They won 6 in a row to end the season. Remember Sawyer Robertson? Big kid. In the Mike Leach quarterback room, he transferred to Baylor. But Jackson Arnold is tired of being told that he can't play ball.
Right.
Rob, you have told me numerous times that how bad the roster was when Hugh got the job.
Yeah.
I finally believe after the last 2 years, I think the roster's better. I think it's an SEC upper tier roster. I think Auburn wins the game, but I'm kind of with Ken. I think this is close. Rob, you mentioned the 6-game winning streak for Baylor last year, which probably kept Dave there. But, they lost to Colorado, if I'm not mistaken, guys, on a Hail Mary at the end of the game. If that game would have went different for them, they'd have been 7-2 in the Big 12. They may have been in the Big 12 championship game. That's how crazy the Big 12 is. Speaking of the Big 12, I don't know if anyone had problems seeing the lines on the game Saturday. I mean, we got some spray paint, Brenden. I mean, did you watch that Iowa State, Kansas State game? We're overseas playing a game, and I couldn't even see the yard hashes. It was crazy. But I like Auburn. I think it's going to be close, but I'd like Auburn because it's that Baylor close game. I'll say 31-28.
All right, John Hartwell, what do you think happens out there? You got Hugh Freeze. I really think the last couple of years you found every way to lose games. I think that the momentum shifts now that Auburn starts finding excuses to win, because if they don't, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, like I said, just like the game in Tallahassee, the loser in this game in Waco, the coach is all of a sudden, catching some heat. And you think of the storylines over the last 6 weeks or so at Auburn. There was the thing about Hugh Freeze is playing too much golf. There was the whole thing about, hey, is Derek Nix or Ken Austin or Hugh Freeze calling the play? And is it on the first, second, or third down? All these side distractions. And, knowing Hugh Freeze, I think he is using all of this as motivation. I look for Auburn to come out and play really well and win the game. If they don't, the Foghorn, Leghorn, and company in War Eagle country are going to be fit to be tied.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know what is really, really fun about all this stuff going on? Yeah, Foghorn, Leghorn, or in Texas, that super booster we call Foghorn Longhorn. I say, son, I say, we get rid of him now. Spend somebody else's money to fire the coach is what they always do. All right. Yep. So, Ken, couple of minutes before you get rolling from your mobile studio. I got to ask you about another one of these games. LSU travels to Clemson. Football Writers
Woo,
Association of
woo.
America, folks. Ken is a great writer. He's from Austin, Texas. Has a son named Austin. I love it. And he has a Hook'em hut, which is currently under renovation. So this is the mobile studio. What happens up there? Brian Kelly against Dabo. Cade Klubnik, didn't he play at Austin Westlake? You followed this kid probably since high school.
Oh yeah, Cade Klubnik. I mean, come on, man. He's a Austin Westlake kid all the way. Played for my friend Todd Dodge, one of the legendary high school coaches here in Texas. And if you look at the Heisman, roster already, Arch is number 1, but Cade is like 3. So and he played very well here in Austin. In the playoffs last year, and kept Clemson in the game. But LSU has got to win this game. I mean, the way I look at it, it's going to be tough for them on the road. But I just get the feeling that everybody's kind of up to here with Brian Kelly, and he had Jaden Daniels. Still couldn't win the national championship. And I think the Cade and company at home is going to be very, very hard to beat. But man, LSU needs to, by hook and by crook, try to win this game.
All right, before you go, Ken, since we're all here, we've all been to Atlanta. We have a lot of viewers in Atlanta. Everybody goes to Atlanta to the airport or something. But let's pause and just reflect with a bit of solemnity. The Cheetah 3, a famous establishment, is being torn down and replaced by a high-rise in Atlanta. The signs of progress. But I'm just going to say.
The Cheetah's going down?
Yes, the Cheetah's.
Just what Atlanta needs, another high-rise.
I promise there will be another Cheetah. It will just be an exclusive.
Brenden, they are keeping the brass pole in the lobby.
Hell yeah, they are.
Well,
I don't know anything about that. And I've never been to varsity afterwards either. I don't know what you're talking about.
Audrey and I are heading to Atlanta to see Mallory and Tyler and Chandler in the new house. They've moved in. We got there just after they moved in because, by the way, when you get a new truck, everybody will call you and say, can you help me move a couple of things? Yeah, you better not tell people when you get a truck. But, Ken, tell people how they can follow you, keep up with all your great work. This is awesome stuff. Love your passion and energy. Soon you will be back in the Hook'em hut, but let's do it again next week. But tell them how.
Oh man, thank you so much, and really enjoyed being with y'all, and so glad college football is back, and can't wait to root for my McCallum Knights tonight. We are the Knights, Knigaht. So anyway, at Texas Six-Man Ken is where to find me, and always check out at FWAA. We always got great stuff going on there. And, we'll just see how it all works out this week.
Yeah, not only are you a great writer, you're a great son to your mother and great father, and a great husband. So take care. We'll see you next week.
See you, Ken.
See you, Ken.
Right, let me tell y'all something, man. In Atlanta will never be the same. It's just it's
the Cheetah.
It's a tough day, but
I'm trying.
Yeah, I know.
But we were at the poll was going to stay in the lobby. And
I'll have to talk to Phil Thompson about it and Todd Foray. They will tell me more about it. They're the biographers. But look, guys, there's so many great.
Can we talk about this game and the betting? Because I just, not that I gamble, but a lot of people gamble. Here's your spread as of right now on ESPN.
Clemson minus 4.5.
Yep.
I'm taking Clemson to cover this game and win this game. I'll tell you what. I talked to Dave Bartu 3 or 4 times yesterday. After the show, which he did in the dark in his car yesterday from College Football Matrix, I talked to him. He was driving across the state of Oregon over near the Neck. You know what I'm talking about? John Hartwell in Idaho, the Neck.
Oh, yeah.
He elk hunts over there. He said they kill them over there 700 or 800 pounds. You get on the Pacific coast of Oregon, that's called the Roosevelt strain of elk. They get 1,300 pounds. But Dave talks about quarterback starts and snaps. Klubnik is coming in on, I think, number 30 for starts. I think Nussmeier's 13 or 14. That right there, being at home, I think that's a home field advantage. I'm taking Clemson to win this game 31-21.
Well, you got a score there. John, you want to weigh in on this
Yeah,
one?
yeah. I'm going. The battle of the Tiger Valleys here. Which one prevails, and I'll go with Dabo and the Clemson Tigers as well. And again, this is one of those that you're after week one, and the losing coach is going to start catching some heat. But I'll take the home Tigers in this game.
Yeah, no, look, I mean,
Matt?
if LSU wins, I ain't going to complain. I just what I think's going to happen.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
idea.
Matt?
Matt?
Yes, I'm going to go with Clemson for a different reason. I've been told in numerous top 30 players in the country that they have two prominent defensive linemen besides a great quarterback. I think Clemson's roster is really good. I think Ken touched on it, how well they played in the football playoff game last year against Texas. I think Clemson wins this game. And I will tell you something about Clemson. They have some of the nicest fans, but it's hard to find a good parking spot there, guys. I literally almost lost my car after I was there for the A&M game about 5-6 years ago. It was past the lake. I mean, I just kept going, and my wife and my other kids are with me, and they're like, "Where'd you park?" We're on this bus, and there's like 5 different options. We go to the final one. We finally find a car. But I think Clemson is just I think LSU still has a chance to win the SEC, but I like Clemson in this game.
Well, LSU's loaded with talent, but I'm going to tell you what, up on Lake Hartwell, the SO Club's going to be rocking. It's an incredible atmosphere. But, man, I like that metric about number of college starts. Gary Harris, born and raised in Miami, moved to Alabama as a young lad, began pulling and watching college football at a young age. One of the best beat writer, reporters, Tider Insider, Tide 100.9 radio show, knows his stuff. Gary, are you excited that we're starting college football and it's all about games and depth charts and, of course, betting lines? I got Alabama to win 42-14 in Tallahassee Saturday.
Wow. You're a little more confident than me. I've got it 27-13.
Okay.
I just think that in the first game, there's so many unknowns about Florida State, and I get it. I mean, you would think 50 new players, man, that's a lot of player program. But
yeah,
I think that conditions, first of all, I think could be sloppy. There's more than just a chance of rain. There's a chance for thunderstorms and the possibility even of game delays. That type of day. And you got 2 new coordinators, proven. Tony White from Nebraska, Gus Malzahn, most recently head coach at Central Florida. You've got a team and a program. I had Allison Posey from WCTV in Tallahassee on my show yesterday. And Rob, I've got to tell you, and now this isn't necessarily the players and the coaches, especially 50 new players that weren't even there, but and a lot of the players, in fact, hardly any players are left from that team 2 years ago, a few. But that fan base still has a lot of resentment toward Alabama from 2 years ago when Florida State did not get in the playoff. And Alabama did after beating Georgia to win the SEC championship game. Alabama had a loss. Florida State was unbeaten. So there's some built-up venom there. And then, of course, last year, 2-10, just a debacle of a season. First game, new quarterback. But don't forget, this quarterback, Castellona, signed with Gus Malzahn out of Central Florida. At Central Florida when he came out of the state of Georgia before he transferred to Boston College. So clearly, he's a guy that Gus Malzahn, saw in high school and said, this is my kind of quarterback.
Yeah.
So I just think the game, and now you add in the fact that Jam Miller's out, Tim Keenan, the third, is out. Those are 2 key cogs on the offense and defense. In fact, I would say probably the 2 leaders of that side of the ball, each side of the ball. I think Jam Miller was a leader on the offensive side of the ball, and I think Tim Keenan was a leader on the defensive side of the ball. Ty Simpson is as much experience as he has in the program, 4th year, never started a game, and really hasn't played significant snaps outside of 2 years ago when he came in South Florida and really helped Alabama pull that game out. So I just think this game is going to be a little more sluggish than what most people do. I think Alabama, still 2 touchdown wins, 14 points, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. But that, I've been wrong many times before.
Well, that weather could be significant because if you have these 30-minute delays, my wife still she hates me for the Auburn Southern Miss game in 2018, Gary, when we had a 6 hours and 44 minutes because of lightning and rain delays. She goes, she's still not over it. But Matt, Gary, one other thing, Gary, I'm a serious question, and we'll make a dinner bet when I'm in Tuscaloosa. Does Gus Malzahn wear a sweater vest in that heat out there Saturday?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
Okay.
is
that a yes?
He seems like he's a peculiar fella in a lot of different ways. So, and I guess if it's 70s and rain, he might have the sweater vest and then have a pullover or something over it to keep him dry. But it certainly wouldn't surprise me.
All right, Matt Dean.
Rob, I'm going with the Gore-Tex sweater vest. So he can at least keep his torso dry.
Yes, that's very important. All right, so it's 13.5-point line. And, Matt, you've made your pick, and John. And so I just, God, Gary, another question I have is Jaden Roberts, the big offensive lineman out of Houston, I think North Shore High School. He's in his third year as a starter. Is he in concussion protocol or?
I don't think he's going to play. That's about all I can tell you. I just don't think he's going to play in the game. I don't know
concerns
really
me.
What's going on with him. I mean, it's been one of those deals where maybe it is a concussion protocol. I don't know. I just don't think he's going to play in the game. So, I didn't even mention him. That's three starters. And what's so odd about it, Alabama went through fall camp about as healthy as any team I've ever covered here. And other than Roberts, but everybody kept saying Roberts would be back. But then you get out of fall camp, and I guess Miller got hurt right at the end of the last scrimmage. Yeah. But then Keenan goes down this week in shorts, non-contact injury with an ankle. Yeah. So all of a sudden, a team that looked like it was going to be completely healthy going into the first game has been hit by the injury bug a little bit with three key guys out. But I don't know what the deal is with Jaden Roberts. You might be right. I mean, there hasn't been much said about it other than, he just didn't practice a lot the last couple of weeks. And I don't think he's going to be available on Saturday.
Yeah, Matt?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think Alabama wins handily. Knowing the weather, though, maybe the safer play is the under. Because I think Gary's right. I think it's going to be 2-touchdown victory, but it could be, if it gets to be a sloppy game, there could be some turnovers, which always a neutralizing factor in point totals and things like that. But I just like Alabama's line of scrimmage, guys. They got the best player in the field in Ryan Williams. I think Ty Simpson's not going to make a lot of mistakes. I just think the Tide defensively are way too much for question marks coming off a 2-10 year. I mean, I don't know how you can, you can be optimistic if you're Florida State, but I just don't think so in this opener. I just think if this game was in Alabama, we wouldn't even be talking about it. It'd be a blowout.
Yeah, and I was talking with Clarence Beeks yesterday, a friend of mine, and he said one thing about Gus in the news of the weird, he took over as head coach at Auburn in 2013, following the worst Auburn football season in 62 years, a 3-9 season when they were winless in the conference in 2012 and had the team within a whisker, 13 seconds of winning a national championship. I don't see that happening at Florida State. Gary, I want to ask you another question.
Your friend Clarence Beeks?
Yeah.
Is that the guy? That guy
trading places?
Trading places?
He had the crop reports.
I've never knew there was a real Clarence Beeks.
Yes, there is. Remember when I said Eddie Murphy went to him and said, I seem to have found a check for $50,000 to a Clarence Beeks. And I said, I'll take care of that. Valentine.
I remember when he was on the phone, that lady was waiting on the phone, and he was like, hold on. F off. Blink off.
Beeks was the best, man.
One of the greatest movies of my era. I want you to translate.
Happy New Year! Anybody
in this country, we say Happy New Year.
Turkey. I've got one.
Happy New Year!
So, Beeks, John Hartwell, I got to ask you something right now. Gary Harris, and folks, catch him right after us today, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., Tide 100.9, does an awesome show. It's also just genuinely just a straight up American. And Gary, you don't traffic in rumors, but you put a lot of great stuff out on Twitter. So it's a constant, like the ticker under the bottom of your screen during the stock market trading hours. It's incredible. But Gary's 24/7 on it. But John, what do you think happens right now, Alabama? They've got Ryan Grubb coming in. I Kalen DeBoer has won everywhere he's been. And as they say down south in the country in Reform, Alabama, that's not nothing.
Yeah, I look for that. Obviously there was some, I don't know if concern is the right answer, but it was not and I give Greg Browne credit with this. It was not, he went with an out of the box hire, but I think it's going to prove as we go further and further in time, a very good hire. I mean, anybody, when you look at the history of Alabama, anybody who follows Bear Bryant, anybody who follows Nick Saban, there is going to be a drop off. But I think Kalen DeBoer, he listened to some of the criticism, but he kind of closed ranks some. They've got a very talented staff. They've obviously got players, and I look for them to make a real run this year. The other guy on that staff that took some heat last year, Kane Womack. Kane left a rising career as a head coach and left a good South Alabama program to go be the DC for Kalen, and they'd known each other for a long time, had worked together, had trusted each other, and I look for big things, not just this year, but going forward in the next few years out of Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, and Gary, what are your callers? You look, apathy will kill a program. The opposite is what keeps the standard high. What's the daily 2 hours like right now, getting ready for first game in less than 48 hours?
Yeah, there's certainly not any apathy. I can tell you that.
I didn't think so.
For apathy to set in around here, you got to have several bad years in a row. I think there's a lot of excitement, enthusiasm, excitement. I think people look back at last year and realize that Alabama, beat Georgia, blew out LSU, 42-13 Baton Rouge, beat South Carolina, shut out Missouri, had good wins, won the Iron Bowl. The problem was, and this is what you find, this is where Saban was so good, Coach Bryant was so good, to have excellence. You've got to win the big games, and you got to be able to come back the next week and win too. And that was an issue for DeBoer. You beat Georgia, and the next week you go to Vanderbilt and absolutely get stunned, losing to a team you hadn't lost to in 40 years. You blow out LSU, you go to Oklahoma, you lay an egg. Even after the season, the feeling was in the bowl game against Michigan down in Tampa that, they were a depleted roster with all the opt-outs, and Alabama played probably its worst game of the year. So I think that's the challenge. I think the talent is here. I think this team's good enough, certainly, to be in the playoff. I've got them going 10-2, winning all their home games, losing at Georgia, losing at South Carolina. That could get them in Atlanta. Certainly would get them in the playoff. So I think they're going to have a really good team. But you can't afford to lose games that you're, if you lose at Georgia, even though I don't think Georgia's better than Alabama, I just think it's their time finally to win a game outside of that national championship game, and they're in Athens at night. You lose at Georgia, you lose at South Carolina, you're fine. What you can't do is lose at home to Vanderbilt or lose at home to Oklahoma this year. Those are the games that I think decide Alabama's fate. I think they're plenty good enough to get in the playoff, but you have got to win some of the big games, and then you got to win all the games you're supposed to win.
Gary, good football. You've covered elite coaches throughout your career at Alabama. There's a question on here from one of our viewers, and I can't see his name, but he says, and I'm going to throw this is outside of Alabama. What do you think Bill Belichick does? Just kind of a 30-second answer at North Carolina.
I have no idea.
No gut feeling?
I really have no – I can't – I don't have a clue. And John, you and Rob might have more of an opinion on it than I do. I know he's one of the – arguably the greatest NFL coach ever. He's certainly in the conversation. But this is such a – really spending your entire career in the NFL, then going to college in your 70s. I know he can coach football, but I have no idea how he'll do this year. I can't even really garner a guess.
He's definitely focused. There's no distractions or anything with the program. John Hartwell, you look at the big picture of wow.
He can recruit though. He still can recruit. Now whether it's whether it's football players or other talent, he can recruit.
Yeah,
Well, it is the
Yes,
NIL
it
era.
is. And so looking at college football, what Gary just said, you've got, the SEC top to bottom, and I'm going to bounce this around, John, Matt, Gary. Start with you, John. Top to bottom, it's hard to pick a top six. Now, I've got Alabama and Georgia playing in Atlanta for the SEC championship, and I've got Georgia winning the SEC this year. But I've not yet picked the game in Athens. What do you think? What are your top six in the SEC?
Wow, and you got Georgia and Alabama, although we've talked about Texas being number one. I mean, I'm not even going to go 1 to 6, but I'll give you 6 teams that I think that'll be at the top. I think you've got obviously Georgia, Alabama, Texas, the Florida Gators. I know Brenden would pop back in here if we didn't give them a little bit of love.
They're going to be good.
They're in that mix. The LSU is talented. It's going to be interesting to see, especially if they stumble out of the gates like we talked about. I'll give you another team here's my SEC dark horse. Missouri is going to be really, really good. He's done a really nice job. I know a little bit about, they added Ahmad Hardy, who had been at ULM last year, the leading true freshman yardage rusher in all of college football. So those are my 6.
Okay. That's in no particular order. That's
yeah. I'll give you 6 teams. It's too hard to say 1 to 6.
All right. Matt, I know that your bookie Lloyd Christmas has a lot of lines, but give me your top 6.
You stay away from my bookie, Browne.
Hey, I do see a couple of pieces of the silver missing back there. Did you miss a couple?
We've had a rough 12 months, Hartwell. We've had a rough 12 months. But let me tell you something. I think an interesting storyline is Oklahoma's transfer quarterback. I believe it's John Mintier from Washington State. I think he's been really talked about. Venables is a defensive coach. Oklahoma, you talk about some seats that are warm. Oklahoma better be trending a little bit differently after 12 games in Norman, in my opinion. I think he's going to produce. Rob, I really feel like Auburn's going to be a factor this year. I think it's going to start Friday night. I can see them 9-3, 10-2. But at the end of the day, I still think this whole league, it's really hard to predict because it's all schedule induced. I would ask Gary Harris, who's got the most favorable schedule home and away? And that's the team I'm going to go with of the top 6. I don't care what you say. That's, like Gary mentioned, I like Alabama's schedule. If they take care of their home games, I don't think they're going to be 10-2. There's no doubt in my mind. Georgia, on the other hand, I love Gunnar Stockton's toughness. I love Kirby Smart. I just have to see it for a few weeks because, even in some of the days when Georgia was on the Stetson Bennett train, they would go to Missouri and they'd have a tough guy. There are tough games on this road, guys. I mean, like John's right. Missouri is well coached. They got a nice transfer quarterback from Penn State. I don't know how you can logically predict anything, but I really believe this. I think the national championship team comes from this conference, but it may not be the SEC winner. That's my prediction. That's what happened last year with Ohio State. They made the playoffs. They limped in after losing at home to Michigan. They got hot. They were very fortunate they didn't have to play that Tennessee game in Knoxville. I'm just telling you. So I think the national champion comes from our league this year, guys. That's
Gary,
my prediction.
Look at hearing what he just said. And again, top to bottom, I think the league's better than it was last year. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I probably would. And, my top 6, and I heard John rattle his off on probably pretty similar, but I've got Texas, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, South Carolina, and Missouri. I think that Auburn and Tennessee are knocking on the door, and A&M too. So, so really it's almost like a top 9 out of 16 because I think that's 6, and then there's 3 others there that could break into that. But, I think it probably is better from top to bottom. But I like what Matt said about, it's I was on a show last night, and I was asking a similar question about having to change the way you think as a fan. And I really think you do. I mean, 16 teams and maybe going to more. Now it is just about getting a seat at the table. I mean, you'd love to have the bye, but it's just about getting in the tournament. And you get in the tournament if you've got a good team, whether you got 2 losses or somehow if you get in with, let's say, 3, you can still make a run. So I think and winning the SEC championship has always meant a lot. I think it's important. I know it means a lot to Alabama fans. They've won 30 of them. And I still would like to see Alabama play in that game. I think the 2 teams that do winning that championship, but I'm not sure playing the SEC championship game benefits you, as far as the playoff is concerned. That's right. So that's another, moving part. That's an extra game after a long season. So I just think getting into the playoff and I thought what Matt said is right. Ohio State, we knew they were good, but I didn't look at them as a dominant team going into the playoff, but they certainly were.
My breakdown on the league is I've got a top 6 in no particular order, and then 5 and 5. That's, top to bottom, it is really strong. Gary, again, day in and day out, you hear from fans. What about passion for the game? Man, I'm as fired up as I've ever been for the start of a football season. Is that what you're hearing, reading, and feeling?
Yeah, and I think it's probably more so because of all of the off the field issues and topics, and you have to read about them and hear about them, and fans of schools every day get on social media hoping nothing is broken with my school or, one of our players has gotten in trouble. So I think all the off the field headlines make you even hungrier for just to play some games. And now, 40, 50 years ago, it was similar in the sense that you didn't have news in the off season, so people were really ready, but it was more of a smooth transition into the season. Now there's so many topics we discuss every week about where is the game headed and, the money and, even filtering down to high schools with guys being suspended and, where there's going to be high school NIL. So I think people are just ready to see games. So I think the great thing about college football and basketball is, I've said this, when they run out the tunnel, I think you forget all about that stuff. They're wearing your team's colors and, for 3 hours and a half at a football game or 2+ hours at a basketball game, all the other stuff's, in the back of your mind. So, play
it's
some
like
games.
My grandfather was a judge, and he told me, he said, when you go in the courtroom, you need to have amnesia because when you're in that jury box, you got to be fair. That's what happens when the games start. By the way, I got a nice text just now from Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart. Check out my column on Football Writers Association of America website. Not picks, stories about the game. Tony was in Memphis last week. He's like you, Gary, and John, and Matt, and Brenden, and Buddy Martin, and all of you. We just love the game. And I know there are people who are frustrated and all like that. But look, you know what? Gandhi was right. Don't allow other people to walk through your mind with their dirty feet and their dumb takes. But I am so ready for the season. Gary, I know you got to go.
Yeah, I got to
tell people how they can follow you real quick, and we'll do it again next week. Thank you.
Yeah, on Twitter at Gary Harris _WVUA. On Facebook, Gary Harris WVUA23. The TV website is WVUA23.com, and the radio station is Tide109.com. And you can download apps for both the TV station and the radio station. Thanks a lot, guys.
You bet.
See you, Gary.
See you, Gary.
Hey, John and Matt, this is what we love. We're picking some games and all, what we think is going to happen. But man, and Tony Barnhart's got Texas and Georgia playing for the national championship. He's got Texas winning. That's who he's got. So, man, there's a lot of anticipation. We got about 6 minutes to go, and I want to do this now. We hadn't talked about Tennessee Syracuse. I'm going to that game Saturday. We're heading over to Atlanta after the show today. I think that's going to be a very tough game. The coach at App State is no longer there. His quarterback was Joey Aguilar. He couldn't elevate the talent, as Dave Bartu says, at App State. How's he going to elevate the talent around him at Tennessee in his first year with the best athletes in America coming after him? Anybody want to take a guess at what Tennessee does Saturday against Syracuse in this season?
Yeah, I think Tennessee wins the game. Josh Heupel's done a really nice job there. It's not a home game for Tennessee, but in essence it is. There'll be a whole lot more of the Vol orange than there will be of the Syracuse orange, although they're very close in color. But I just think Tennessee wins the game. They got too many guys. I know Matt's a big proponent of looking at the offensive and defensive lines. Tennessee is massive across both lines and very talented as well.
Matt, go ahead. I'm sorry, I hit the.
Yeah, I agree with John, and I'll take it a step further. I think Josh Heupel's going to elevate Joey Aguilar. I mean, Heupel's got a pedigree, man, with quarterbacks, and I really think if Tennessee can avoid some of the turnovers that Aguilar had at App State, then I think Tennessee, like John said, Tennessee's roster is good. I mean, they were a college football team last year, and I think they win the game on Saturday, or I'm not sure is it Sunday or Saturday night, Rob. But anyway, I think Syracuse though is going to keep it. Yeah, I think Syracuse is going to keep it close because I think Fran Browne, really outstanding young coach. He's a great recruiter. I think their biggest loss, obviously, at the quarterback position, Kyle McCord. So we don't know what that's going to play out for him this year. But I think the Vols are going to get better every week, and they're going to surprise some people this year. Another team we haven't talked about, guys, we haven't mentioned Lane Kiffin at all on this show in a while.
We did yesterday. Yeah, we talked. I think he's a hell of a coach
on Thursday,
no question.
And I think Austin Simmons. I talked to our good friend Gordon Ford, Rob. I mean, the Rebs believe in this young quarterback, and don't be surprised if Ole Miss gets in the conversation of that top 6 that we have not included them in.
Yeah, John, real quick, about 20 seconds, then I've got to talk about our sponsors. But Kiffin can coach. He's a hell of a coach.
Yeah, they're talented. So my biggest question about this weekend for you, Rob, is you're going to Atlanta. Are you more likely to go by and pay homage to the brass pole and to the cheetah, or wear orange overalls and a Daniel Boone coonskin cap this weekend to the game?
Both of the above. I'm going. I've already got Mallory, our daughter in Atlanta, getting me a fresh floral bouquet to go and pay homage. As Wesley Duncan just texted me from Fort Lauderdale watching the show, I'm going to go pay homage and pause for a moment of silence at the cheetah. I mean, a lot of great memories there. A lot of great memories, guys. Holy cow! I'm tearing up. Lloyd Christmas says hello. That was awesome today. We'll do it again next week. Thank y'all so much for being on here. Absolutely love it. John Hartwell, you'll be hearing big things from John going forward, as you will Matt Dean as well every single day. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Thanks, guys.
Let me say something about Landers Ford. Guys, every time you get in a vehicle, you want to make sure it runs right. Well, LandersFordMemphis.com. They're open Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And take $500 off for SEC Sidelines audience members. And thank you so much for watching, on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. They've got the Broncos, the top of the line lineup of vehicles. I mean, the Sasquatch Bronco package, the F-150s, the Ford Escape. They've got new cars, trucks, and SUVs coming in every day. I think they're number 4 in the nation in Ford Expedition sales. And the service department, if you got a problem, they'll pick you up at home or your office, provide you with round-trip transportation. Those Ford Explorers, and they look great. They drive so well, and they handle like a sports car. They're absolutely beautiful. As for Brad Bellamy, our good friend, the general manager, he'll help walk you through the process. And you know what? They're right down the street from our good friends at Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. They've still got a 50% off sale going on right now, but they've got over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's and kids' boots. We got to go by there today and get some kids' boots for Chandler. And over in Atlanta, they've got STS, Filson. They've got Barber, Duckhead, great-looking men's and women's clothing. That Filson bag right there, the duffel bag, the medium duffel bag, you can pack for a 2-week trip to Europe and still have room in that bag. And it is tough, good-looking stuff. Charles Hall, his wife Laura, you can't get better than these people. Raven, Lydia, J.M. Huffman, Squidward, all of them out there. Check out the Boot of the Week on Instagram. They're great people to work with, and they'll ship anywhere. HewlettandDunn.com. Check out the updated website. And you know what? If you're having trouble sleeping at night, need to chill, Lights Out Gummies with our good friend Dave Bartu. Click on the QR code, hit the promo code Sidelines for 25% off. I'm using these things. I haven't slept like this since I was a kid. They really do work. They ship them to you like right when you send the order in. Remember, 25% off, discount code Sidelines. And remember, how you fight is how you live. Rumble Boxing Gym in Memphis. Hey, have a great day. Most often we see the face of Christ, and least among us. See you tomorrow.